Alright, shall we dive in?
Let's.
Yes! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the General Geekery Podcast. The podcast where we geek out about all that we love to geek out about with no remorse, no regrets, and with all the enthusiasm in the world.
Brought to you by the FIFA World Cup.
That's going to be the new thing, isn't it?
not actually sponsored by the FIFA World Cup.
And rub it, oh, and it's a goal. But actually,
what is that anyway? I don't actually know.
that's just air horn sounds.
Oh, okay.
So, as always, this is Donald Kaczynski, your coffee ninja by day, actor, gamer, streamer by night, and also hype man for hire if you need someone to hype you up for something. DM me at my social media if you need details on that.
Yeah.
And with me, as always, is Hannah Kubiak, the Undertaker by day, artiste, gun, dice slinger. I'm getting my words mixed up. I'm sorry. Gamer and theater professional by night.
Woohoo! Wait, was that me? You were talking about me just now? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I was looking up something.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay. So,
man.
All right. So I got a bit of a fun one. So this actually part of it came up when I was looking through some of the older episodes because I was doing some check-throughs the other day, and I realized there's a certain realm area that we haven't really actually covered yet in topic of the podcast. We've mentioned it briefly, but I don't think we've ever had like an episode about it, and that is usually the realm of video games.
Right.
Because we've always centered around topics related to literature, shows,
Yep.
movies, tabletop gaming, but we never done a video game theme one. And
let's do it.
And for those that are not aware, as I've mentioned at the end of every episode, I stream a lot of games on Twitch. Mm-hmm. And I actually recently just got a upgrade stuff that allow me to stream some retro systems, so can't wait for that. But that's a different topic for a different day. Mm-hmm. Today, I want to talk about a culture that is very near and dear to my heart, and honestly is very integral to gaming, and unfortunately is not really thriving at the moment with the current pandemic. I want to talk about gaming arcades.
Oh, yes.
Very, very awesome. So I've had arcades have had an influence of me ever since I was a kid. I've been to many, many arcades. And, Hannah, did you have any, have you ever been to, like, any kind of arcade in any capacity at any point in your life?
Yes, I've been to Up Down once, and as a kid at after school care, we would always go to, I don't even remember what it was called. It was like Jungle Planet or something, and there was like an arcade area.
Okay, so you've been to two different kinds. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll go over both of those kinds.
It's more like a skee ball kind of place, though.
It's more of an entertainment center than a focused video game arcade, but that's still okay because there are different kinds of arcades.
Yep.
So the term arcade is actually a little bit weird. I actually had to do some research on this beforehand.
Does it perhaps come from the word Arcadia?
Actually, I don't think so.
Really?
Basically, the definition of an arcade is a covered passageway with arches along one or both sides, usually in terms of like in a shopping area.
Oh.
That's kind of like the general thing. And if you actually think about most video arcades, an archway door leading into an area is 9 times out of 10 what you would see. It would be like in the side of like a shopping center or a or even in a mall. Arcade popularity really exploded in the late 1970s and early 1980s. But I mean, its origins are a little bit older than that, and honestly, it all goes to old gambling machines. Kind of like old-fashioned like pinball machines and slot machines and things like that. And these kinds of pinball machines, it was before a time where pinball machines had flippers that you could use for it. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, from what I read, the ball launches, and then it just goes off these bumpers automatically, and whatever score was what the score got. You didn't have any influence over that. It was all due to chance.
Okay.
And a lot of places kind of outlawed that because apparently people would actually gamble on that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know because I haven't found any concrete evidence on that yet.
Yeah. The deaf, dumb, and blind boy sure plays me pinball.
Isn't that weird though? Like, you would gamble on the results of a pinball machine?
People will gamble on the results of anything.
That is true. I've actually seen two kids bet $1 to see who would actually win between two tortoises.
Yep, tortoise races. Betting on what are some other weird things people bet on? Betting on how long someone's relationship is going to last.
Oh, when people get pots going for that?
Yep.
Oh my god. I'm like, what?
Betting on when somebody's baby is going to be born.
That one's a little bit more of like in the family thing with friends too.
Really?
But I feel like that one's more of a fun one as opposed.
It was open to the public, like just.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
People have different kind of pools going. Who knows?
Just be like, hey, Dad from the grocery store. When do you think my kid's coming?
How long are you into it?
It's like you can't tell.
I don't know. I don't know how many weeks it's been.
That's rather a personal question, Dan.
Okay, sorry, never mind. I apologize. I didn't mean to actually be that offensive, if at all.
Just pick a number, Dan.
98.
What on earth was that?
That was me during one of my worst Kermit the Frog impressions of all time.
That was great.
But anyway, so video arcades really started video game arcades didn't really skyrocket until like the late 70s, everything like that, because it was always either arcades were either more along the lines of like pinball hotspots or like pool halls. Those were like the big ones. Video game arcades really didn't come into fruition until like the late 70s when video games were becoming more readily available on the market, which leads me to arcade cabinets. Arcade cabinets are probably one of the most recognized things that a person will think of in their mind when you say the term arcade. Now, Hannah, when I say the word arcade, what video game arcade cabinet would come to mind for you? Is there like a specific one in mind?
Well, Pac-Man, of course.
9 times out of 10, Pac-Man is usually like one of the first ones that are brought up to the general public, because Pac-Man is one of the big ones that popped up during that period between the late 70s and the early 80s. The first one was, if I'm not mistaken, Asteroid.
Asteroid? I've played that before, actually.
Yep, that one's a classic.
Yeah, and my mom, when we were younger, actually got it was a video game sort of console that had a bunch of old games in it, like Asteroid, and what was the one where you go through the castle trying to find the keys?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, but it had that on there. It had Asteroid and like all these Atari things. It was a good time.
Oh, it might have been the Atari 2600, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that is. But yeah, like it was right around the time where video games were not readily accessible for home use at the time. Yeah. This is way before the time of like when Nintendo would release like the Nintendo Entertainment System or the Famicom as it was known in Japan. But arcade cabinets were usually the big things, and you had like a lot of like big names that eventually would become staples of gaming. Like you had Pong, Asteroids, like I said, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger. That one's a personal favorite of mine.
Frogger.
But then the video game crash of like the early 80s started happening, and arcades were losing audiences fast. Like, at their peak, from what I read, the arcade business was worth nearly $10 billion in revenue in American dollars.
Then came the great arcade crash.
Fair. And keep in mind, this is $10 billion in the late 70s and early 80s. If you adjust that for inflation today, that is worth more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, they took a big crash like around that time. But of course, this is when more when Nintendo would release the Nintendo Entertainment System, and more at-home options would be available for that. So it looked like the video arcades were going to be dying out, but then it was like around the 90s, like early 90s or something like that, when you had a couple of different games got released, such as Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, The Fighters.
Mortal Kombat!
Mortal Kombat! Dun, 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 dun. Sorry.
Do you see the giant block of audio there?
I apologize.
Let me just move this.
Yeah, that's fair.
For myself.
Future Donald, who's editing this episode, please keep a note on that and make sure to put a spoiler warning before that, just in case.
A spoiler for the volume.
Yeah.
Or you could just, select that area and then just. Yeah.
I can do that, but but yeah, fighting games really started around that time, and that was like a big thing for arcades, because you had games where you could compete for high scores and everything like that, but this is a different type of game where at the same time you and another friend or even a stranger could go head to head against each other and compete. And competitiveness has always been a big thing when it comes to any kind of competition, like video games or sports or anything like that, or just games in general.
Oh man, Mortal Kombat was one that I played a lot growing up, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I remember playing it with my cousins, on rainy days in Chicago all the time.
Oh man.
In college, on Valentine's Day, me and all my single friends, we got together at someone's house and had a Mortal Kombat night.
Oh my god, that sounds awesome!
Yep, and then watched Inglourious Bastards. It was the best Valentine's Day ever. I highly recommend it.
Okay, we're probably going to need to plan this, but
yep,
okay.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, it's that kind of fascination, and fighting games today owe a lot to arcades, because it was in the arcade setting that fighting games grew to what they were. So much so that the button inputs and the sticks that you have at the arcades when you do the fighting games and everything like that.
Yeah.
They make separate controller setups for home console use.
Dude.
Yeah, arcade sticks and everything like that.
That's awesome.
My little brother, who plays Tekken, has actually expressed interest in getting his own arcade stick for that, and I'm like, and people often say you can do better inputs on that than with a regular controller, but again, that's veering into a different territory. We're focusing on the arcades specifically. So I've been to many different arcades throughout my many years of life. I'm only 26. What am I even saying? I'm still young. I'm still young.
Yep.
Still young, damn it.
I, in comparison, am a wizened old crone at 27.
You will outlive me.
Yeah, I will. I'll outlive everybody I know, probably.
You will be the next Betty White, damn it.
I'm pretty sure I will be. Actually.
Love you, Betty.
Longevity runs in my family.
But, okay. That's true. What am I even saying anymore? Anyway.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was the one that veered off on that. So, yeah, there were, and in the 90s, the arcades kind of had a resurgence. I mean, there's different kinds of, arcades that you find from time to time, and, those are the differences. You have your regular kind of, video game arcades, where you go in, you get quarters, and you play all different varieties of different kinds of games, and you're not trying to win like a certain kind of prize or anything like that. That's where the games of chance come in. The ticket spouters, like your average stuff that you find at like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Dave and Buster's.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Skee-ball. Absolute nightmares, those places. Especially if you're an introverted little kid who just wants to read.
I would absolutely spend an hour playing nothing but skee-ball.
So many loud noises.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fair. Like as I grew older, I like being like a more like quiet and controlled setting. Mm-hmm. But if ever I'm with friends, it always makes that a little bit more easy, because when you're with friends, you can have more of a fun personal time.
Yeah. I grew up like the opposite. I became a little bit like more gregarious and outgoing as I got older. So
that's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird how that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still pretty reserved, if you can believe it.
I will help you come out of that shell.
I'm out of that shell.
I will help you come out of that shell at times where I feel like you need to. But
okay.
I won't be forceful about it. I'll be gentle. I'm sorry.
Tell me more about skee-ball.
Indeed. So, those kinds of ones I usually put in the realms of, like, the Chuck E. Cheeses and all that as, like, entertainment centers, usually. Because, I mean, you're trying to get tickets for, like, a prize or things like that. I mean, also they have, like, regular kind of arcades, like, centric kind of games. Okay. I should probably explain this. For me, there are always 4 different areas and genres of, like, arcade games that are usually found in every kind of arcade. You have your high score ones, which is like your Pac-Mans and your Donkey Kongs, everything like that, where you're trying to constantly do certain objectives in order to get a high score. You have your shooters, your light gun shooters, where kind of like Big Buck Hunter.
Buck Hunter, yep.
So you have like a gun-shaped controller, and you're like shooting it at the screen, like your Big Buck Hunter, your House of the Dead, your Terminator arcade, things like that. Then you have the fighting games, like I mentioned before, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Tekken. If you're an arcade and you don't have a fighting game, it can be a little bit of a downer. Because people love to play fighting games, even if they don't know the game, they love to have fun playing a fighting game.
Yeah, classic button mashing.
Exactly.
That's how I do.
And then you've got the beat 'em ups, which is another favorite of mine. Basically, yourself alone or as a part of a team, you go through like a side-scrolling thing, and you're just beating up any enemies that come your way. So you have stuff like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, Battletoads, the Simpsons arcade game by Konami, which is one of my favorite. Oh my god, that was probably like one of my favorite beat-em-up games growing up. I remember every single time, like when I was a kid from like 6 to 10 years old, every time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, because that was my first introduction to like an arcade like setting. I would spend like maybe $5 worth of tokens on just that game alone.
Yep, which back then was a lot.
This was in the 90s and early 2000s, folks.
Yep. When $5 seemed like a fortune.
$5 whole. I could get 500 penny candies.
Yeah. Now you can get a coffee for that.
That's true. Well, depends on what kind of additives you put in the coffee, but even still,
you could get a what do you call it? A grande caramel macchiato for like $4 something.
Fair enough. That's
at Starbucks.
Yeah.
This podcast is not sponsored by Starbucks.
Never. Stay away, Starbucks. Sorry, that's something for another day.
We already have our coffee sponsor.
Yes.
Right?
Valentine, please sponsor us.
Are they? Oh, they're not a sponsor yet?
I'm still trying to.
Taking it. Yeah, okay.
Still trying to work on it.
Yep.
Still trying to work on it. But anyway, with the arcade setting, yeah, and arcades have gone through many different changes over the years. One of the more recent fads that have been going around is the barcades. Like
up down.
Yeah, like up down, exactly.
Okay.
For a more grown up setting, because a lot of people in our generation, like that grew up in like the 90s, and even our generation before us that grew up in the 80s, like arcades were like a big thing in their childhood, because arcades were always like a place to go when like an after school setting, depending on like how you grew up. It's always been a fun place. So in like the past decade or so, like the concept of barcades have opened up. Bars with the style of arcades.
Yeah. Lots of nostalgia stuff going on right now.
Yeah, the 2010s have always been like kind of like a resurgence of like nostalgia trips, mainly 80s related.
Yeah, I feel like our generation has that sort of nostalgia thing, like the guy in Midnight in Paris who thinks life would be better in a time in the past or something.
Yeah, we
I don't know. I'd love to do like some sort of psychological research on why that is for our generation in particular.
That is a very interesting question.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of it really just has to do with like certain things that they can tether themselves to. Arcades for a lot of people are one of them.
Yeah.
And I've been to barcades as well. Milwaukee has had several of them, and I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm not too big of a fan on barcades.
No?
Generally.
Yeah.
And, alright.
Why not?
So this is coming from me. For me, when it comes to arcades and everything, because I respect video game arcade cabinets, because a lot of work goes into them, from getting the graphics on screen to work, to the designs of the cabinets themselves. Arcade cabinet designs are beautiful. Like, you can tell effort was put into them, and all the tiny little things in between. And at most arcades that I've been to, there's always a rule that you can't bring in food or drink near the machines. Barcades kind of break this rule. So say just for hypothetical sake, say that I was playing a game of I was at an NBA Jam arcade cabinet with another person. I do not have a drink with me, and I'm just playing everything like that. The other person has a beer in hand while drinking, and he's already in. He's already had a few drinks, and he's already loose and everything like that. What if he's holding a whole beer, and he's being very woozy and everything like that, and he's spilling the beer onto the cabinet, directly almost onto the controls. The controls won't work, and the machine can get very, very damaged. And cabinet machines are expensive. A lot of arcade cabinets that are given out to some arcades, most of them they don't even own, they have to rent them out.
Huh, yeah.
That's something like a lot of people that, like, when they go to barcades and everything like that, they don't think about. I mean, some cabinets are adjusted for that situation as well, and they also have like
cup holders.
Yeah, cup holders on the side, but I just don't like the idea of that.
Yeah.
For me personally, I mean, other people might love it as well, especially in like a group setting. But sometimes when I go by myself to an arcade, I don't want a bunch of people having drinks around all this expensive equipment, because I respect the machines and I respect the industry.
Yeah.
So that's just from me having a care for the product.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Well, like I said, I don't really know very much about arcades or anything. I am here to learn. I am but a humble student.
That's fair.
Yes.
That is fair.
So.
But barcades still catch on. There are some really good barcades that keep on the drink thing.
Yeah.
But there are some places where they just let that go too far off. And it always pains me sometimes to see like arcade machines like that are damaged and everything like that, and sometimes they're just beyond repair. And it pains me. It does pain me. But thank God, there are some arcades out there in the world that stick by the classic arcade rules of no drink, no food around, And it even does when people are waiting to play a game, they do they honor the quarters up system. Mm-hmm. So for those not familiar, quarters up is when you're in line waiting to play a game and somebody's hogging a machine. Mm-hmm. If somebody's hogging a machine, then you basically put your quarter up to the machine to signify that you're going to be next in line, mm-hmm. so that when they lose or they run out of money, they have to get out of line. They cannot keep the spot.
Yeah.
Because most arcades at the time were in very enclosed settings.
Right.
And everybody's looking to get on certain machines.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Quarters up.
Yep.
All right, learning some terminology.
A little bit of arcade terminology for you.
Nice.
Now, of course, there are some arcades today that have foregone the token system, where mm-hmm. sometimes you have like a legacy kind of arcade where it's just like you pay a certain amount of money at the door and all of the machines are free for you to play all day.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is an arcade that I've heard a lot about and I really want to go to. Mm-hmm. It's actually in Chicago.
Ooh.
It's called the Galloping Ghost.
Nice.
It has gotten a lot of feedback as one of the best arcades in the Midwest and probably one of the best ones in America. And a lot of people that are integral to not only the arcade community but also the video game community itself, like a lot of like gaming YouTubers who have gone on first time visits here have had nothing but rave reviews for this arcade because they've talked to the owner and everything like that, and it's a labor of passion. Mm-hmm. And I love seeing that. I love seeing that they honor all the arcade things. They actually also have like personal high scores of certain games in there for their local stuff, and they also have like the world record high scores for each of the games.
That's cool.
And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think a couple of world record scores have actually been set in those in that place.
Wow! Oh my gosh.
They're in the Guinness Book of World Records. Look it up, guys.
That's amazing. Oh man. I wish I knew more about all this retro stuff. I would have more to contribute, but
it's all right.
Arcades and everything.
Don't worry. I will teach you, young grasshopper. Another thing about like arcade life, like some arcade games get so explosively popular that they have to be adapted onto like home console use. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like Pac-Man was one of them. A couple of different racing style games were one of them. Actually, I actually have one that I want to share. Hold on.
Okay.
1 second.
Ooh, show and tell.
Yes.
Show and tell. What's happening? He's going to the bookshelf.
Going to my game collection.
What?
There it is. Sorry, it's a little dusty. So,
let's see, what is this?
What I have brought off of my bookshelf from my PlayStation 2 collection, yes, PlayStation 2 collection, is a game called Crazy Taxi that was developed by Sega. Now it is an arcade cabinet. Well, there's two different kinds. There's a stand-up one where you stand up with the wheel and everything like that, and there's a sit-down one, almost like we were playing a racing game.
Oh.
But generally, you're doing like you're like a taxi driver that's picking up people and driving them to their destination while swerving through traffic and everything like that, and just dodging.
Let me read the back here. It says, "Prepare for the craziest cab ride of your life. Weave through crowded streets, across sidewalks, and even underwater in a frantic race to deliver passengers on time. In Crazy Taxi, time is money, and only the craziest of cabbies earn their fare."
Mm-hmm. That is one of my favorite arcade games.
Oh my gosh.
Of all time.
Let's, once again, let's play that for an Epticon.
I plan on it.
Oh, yeah.
I actually plan on it.
That looks like my kind of game. It looks like you can get up to all sorts of shenanigans in that game.
Oh, yeah. It is. And, okay. So, here's a picture of, like, the sit-down arcade version of it.
Ooh, cool. Okay.
So you actually have a
Released in 1999?
Uh-huh.
Oh. Okay. Okay, this is...
And then it had console port versions for PlayStation 2, Sega Dreamcast.
Cool.
Things like that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting excited.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. I actually rediscovered it in a barcade of all things. It was at it was at a local Milwaukee arcade barcade called 1983. It's unfortunately no longer in business, but like my first visit there, that cabinet was like one of the first things I came across. So I'm like, oh my god, I need to play this now.
Having a total fangirl moment.
Yes. Like, okay, there are 5 games in an arcade setting that will make me go crazy that I need to play this now. NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, Crazy Taxi, Street Fighter 2, and Tekken Tag Tournament 1. Everything else I will always take with glee and happiness, and I'm always up for a good pinball machine. But the other 4, aside from Crazy Taxi, you will generally find in most arcades. Like, I think it's kind of like an unwritten rule that a good arcade will always have either NBA Jam or NFL Blitz on hand, and will always have a fighting game from either Street Fighter or Tekken. Crazy Taxi is one of my favorite arcade racing games of all time, because I mean, racing games are fun and everything like that, but this one you can just crash through cars and pick up patrons who are waiting for a taxi ride underwater.
Yep.
You don't get much crazier than that.
That's ridiculous. Do you ever go to outer space in Crazy Taxi?
No,
or would that be more like...
No, not to my version, but they have added like extra game stuff for they added extra game mode stuff for the console version, where you can do crazy stuff like platform jumping. They have a bowling section.
Oh my gosh.
That's just weird.
Do like Crazy Taxi, but it's set in like the Fifth Element universe.
That would be really fun. I mean, this is the original Crazy Taxi. There have been others, but this is actually one series that I actually want Sega to really go back to, because, God, it's so good. I love this game to death.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's I'm love it.
I'm looking forward to playing Crazy Taxi. I'm not gonna lie. I'd
Oh,
also love to dive into Mortal Kombat again.
I have to get Mortal Kombat, but
oh man,
I'm still expanding like my game.
So much fun.
I'm still expanding like my game library for a lot of different things, and like a lot of people are expanding their library for a bunch of different things, because a lot of arcade classics are available in so many different forms for console. Sorry. And this one was actually kind of a fun little tidbit. Actually, arcade cabinet stuff became so popular. There was a time back in the early 2000s that there was a trend of plug-and-play consoles by Jack's Pacific that did a bunch of different arcade games in one tiny little box, and you just plug it into the TV. You have the batteries turned, and you turn on the power, and it's basically ports of like different arcade classics.
I think that's the one I had. Atari Plug and Play.
That one makes sense.
Oh yeah, it was Atari 2600.
That is a classic system.
No, hold on. Yeah, I don't know, but
I think I have one over here. Let me see if I can find it.
Ooh. Atari Plug and Play. Oh. Yeah, it's just a little box with a joystick on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, we had one of these. You could play. Oh yeah, this is. Wait a minute. There was Centipede. Was
nice.
On there. Asteroids. Yeah. Crystal. Adventure. That's the one where you go into a castle and you find the key. Adventure.
Yep.
Oh man, yeah.
Here it is. I knew it was.
Love it. Oh man, yeah, so familiar. I remember, we would wake up in the mornings and before going to school, getting on the school bus, we would play the.
We need an early gaming session.
Plug and plug. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Pong was on there too.
Yes.
Oh man.
Sorry guys, I'm moving a lot of stuff in the studio to get to this because this thing was buried.
Are we going to play it, or are we just going to look at it?
No, we're just gonna look at it. I don't know if it's working anymore.
Okay.
So this one is a.
Ooh.
So that one is a Namco version one. So that one has Miss Pac-Man on it, as well as Galaga, which is another really popular arcade classic.
All right.
I believe Dig Dug is on there as well. Mappy, Pole Position.
Oh, Dig Dug. That's the one where you're like a little centipede or something. You're a little worm digging.
Well, yeah, you're like a mole or something digging around and stuff like that.
Cool. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What does that one say?
Hold on, let me see.
Oh, I don't know.
Let's see, Pole Position, Galaga, Zeteron, and Mappy.
Ooh, yep. Awesome.
This one was kept in a drawer for a while, so
Yeah. Ooh, I'm gonna take a picture of that.
I knew it was up here. So we'll take a picture of that. And it'll probably be on the thumbnail for the episode. But
Yep. Oh yeah.
But yeah, like we all have a fascination with arcade games. I mean, these are probably like some of the arcade games are probably like has some of the most popular titles of all time, and classics of gaming were born in the arcades.
Yep.
Like I said before, Pac-Man, Mario was first introduced on arcades with Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah.
And eventually got his own like arcade spin-off with Mario Brothers.
Yep. Mario Kart.
That
was another game I played a lot growing up. That and Crash Bandicoot.
Oh my god, I need to get the Crash Reignited trilogy. But actually Mario Kart did not actually make it to arcades until like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Huh, okay.
Because it started off as a game on like the Super Nintendo. And then they actually made like a Mario Kart arcade version in like the 2010s.
Cool.
So yeah, like I was kind of surprised to find that out too. I'm like, this game feels like it would be perfect for an arcade like setting.
Yeah.
So,
we all get in there and just race each other all over the place.
Yeah. And yeah, arcades have like such a fascination behind them. There's so many people that love the arcade setting, everything like that they do different shrines for them. People make their own like arcade cabinets to actually put their own kinds of games into it.
Oh yeah, like put a ton of them in there.
Yeah.
Yes.
At my college.
Yeah.
Shout out to UW Milwaukee. Well, specifically shout out to the awesome people of the Eighth Note Coffee House. So the Eighth Note Coffee House at UW Milwaukee is a student-run coffee shop. It's a student organization-run coffee shop, and and they get donated like a bunch of different things from several different returning patrons and people that always hang out there. It's always a hot spot these days for a lot of like different geeks. And I remember at one point, I think it was during like my second to last year or my final year at college. They were gifted an arcade cabinet that had NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64 games.
Huh.
Trying to play Super Mario 64 in an arcade cabinet-like style is something else, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh.
But then you also have companies that also create newer kinds of arcade cabinets for like classic kinds of games. I know recently there was an announcement that I think it was like One Up Entertainment, which is like an arcade cabinet like company, was doing an entire like series cabinet of like different Marvel vs. Capcom fighting franchises.
Ooh.
And Marvel vs. Capcom is a very popular fighting game series. It's a very beloved one. So I know that one is a thing. NBA Jam, like I said, is always in hot commodity. People always go crazy for NBA Jam cabinets and things like that. And then you also have people that do their own design stuff like that. Some people will find like old-fashioned arcade cabinets, and they'll actually bring them in for like restoration work in order to like make it pristine and look great again.
Ooh.
Like I love restoration work like that when they have to redo like some of the classic artwork and everything like that. And I'm like, I love this because it's putting care into something that I love. It's almost like when you find a classic when you find a classic book in an attic somewhere and it's in a pristine condition and it's a first edition from like the 1920s.
Yep. Oh man.
It's just one of those things that just brings a smile to your face.
Yep.
And I love it.
Ah, old books.
And one of my... Well, I mean... Yeah. I mean, old books had the same kind of appeal as old arcade cabinets to me. So,
Oh, yeah.
and actually, I want to bring this person up because when I was researching this topic, this person came to mind. So, there is an Australian game collector who goes by the tag Last Gamer. He has the biggest video game collection in the world. And he has some very interesting additions in there. He has he has modern and classic gaming systems, including a I think it was an what was it, Commodore 64, which is a game system that you use cassettes as.
What?
Yeah, you play the games are on cassettes.
What's a cassette?
Some young people would say that, but you know what a cassette is, right?
Of course I do.
Okay, I was about to say.
I just wanted to sow doubt in your mind.
It's so easy to put doubt in my mind.
I know.
But yeah, he also has like a lot of different like video game stuff. He has a sound system that was originally used by the Sega Corporation to do like a lot of their different soundtracks.
Wow.
For their classic games as well.
Okay.
He has the prototype versions of the original Nintendo Entertainment System and Nintendo 64.
What?
The very first ones.
That's ridiculous.
He has one of the copies of a Sega produced Tetris game.
Oh my goodness.
That only 3 copies exist today.
What? 1 of 3? Oh my gosh.
Okay, basically the story goes is that when Nintendo originally lost the license to Tetris, Sega was in talks with the Russian developer that originally created the game. I know his first name was Alexei, but I can't remember the last name. It's gonna kill me. I'm sorry, gamers out there who know this, but Sega developed the Tetris, their own Tetris game. They were going to be in talks with for the contract in order to gain it, but Nintendo re-got the rights. So they had these games like developed, but they had to destroy all the copies because they could not legally release it. 3 of them eventually got out.
Alexei Pajitnov.
Yep, that's it. Tetris, one of the most famous games of all time.
Yep.
Easily one of the most popular.
Yep. It's very simple too.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's just shapes.
Literally, this block of plastic that was developed by Sega, its own form of Tetris, 3 copies got out. 1 copy was sold at an auction for $1 million.
That I can't believe that.
I had to look it up myself.
Oh.
And he actually has a collection of arcade cabinets as well that he apparently he used to own a arcade.
Oh, okay.
Years and years ago. And he actually I think it was in the basement of his house, I think. He created an entire arcade cabinet space that was based on the arcade that he originally owned. And he has a variety of pinball machines, different kinds of video arcade games from all over the world, especially some Japanese-only video arcades. I haven't even gotten into talking about Japan arcades, and I want to visit them so much.
Oh, man.
But, yeah, like, definitely go check him out, guys. Last Gamer on social media, like, and he's collecting a lot of stuff. Like, it's wonderful to behold.
Yep. Ugh.
So with all that in mind, I want to end this talking about video arcades in Japan.
All right.
Where probably like most video arcades today take a lot from Japan video arcades. Like arcades in Japan are a fixture of geek culture, and they have a lot more different kinds of like arcade style games than like America does.
It's Dance Dance Revolution. Where'd that come from?
That is from Japan.
All right, cool.
I'm glad you brought that up because I completely forgot about DDR. I completely forgot about that. That's actually another staple that needs to be in most arcades. If you
yeah,
like, you can't put it in barcades because if No, if you put no, here's the thing.
Imagine trying to play GDR when you're completely intoxicated.
And you refuse to put down your beer. I've actually seen somebody try to do that. I'm like, don't you dare spill beer on this beautiful piece of machinery. You will treat DDR with respect, damn it. But yeah, you have all that. And honestly, like, most arcade-like concepts that we view today kind of almost originated in Japan. And honestly, like, a lot of different people that are so influential in video gaming, whether they are developers or, like, video game competitors and everything like that, got their start sometimes in video arcades. One of the most famous fighting game competitors of all time, Daigo. Daigo Umehara. He's a Japanese Street Fighter player.
Okay.
He's one of the most famous fighting game players of all time. He's actually one of the most famous video game players in Japan. He has a Japanese manga based on him.
See, that name was familiar to me, which I'm not quite sure why.
I will show you what he is famous for, and you are going to.
Okay.
Well, that'll be an extra geekery thing. Stay tuned for that. For those who know, it's Evo Moment. It's Evo Moment. Yeah.
What?
I'll show you later.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
But yeah. Arcade culture has pretty much influenced a lot. Especially in our generation. Like, in terms of going to hang out, playing games, so many recognized, like, terminology and just impact it has had on a lot of young people's lives. Mm-hmm. Even into adulthood, where we're making barcade concepts where we can be adults and drink and everything like that and still enjoy nostalgia in arcades.
Yeah. Oh. I've learned a lot today.
And I miss going to arcades so much. Why? 2020, why?
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, yeah, we should go to an arcade now. And I was like, wait, no.
All right.
Can't be done.
So yeah, I implore people who are listening, support your local video arcades, your local entertainment centers, things like that. They're not just, I view them not just as like places where you just go to hang out and everything like that. In a way, for a lot of video game players and people that grew up in like arcades, they're like temples. They're like churches. They're like places that are familiar and are like home to them. So definitely support them, especially in these trying times.
You can find solace at the Pinball Cathedral.
With Pinball Wizard playing in the background.
Since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball.
Yes. But yeah, like, honestly, like, if most people, like, say if they had like a dream house and everything like that, they would have like a giant pool in the backyard, or like turn one of their giant things in, like, giant rooms into like a movie theater and everything like that. I personally want to create an arcade. I would absolutely create a personal arcade for not only for myself, but for my friends, my family, and I would even bequeath it to my kids.
Oh.
Because honestly, like, video games like that, you want to pass that on to the next generation, like that knowledge of like, this is how far it's come. Treasure the past so you can enjoy the present. And honestly, I think a lot of people that like promote their kids from playing video games, like, they need to teach them the classics before they can have them appreciate present games.
Yep. Oh.
So yeah, that's my hot take, guys.
That was deep.
You didn't think I would get so deep into talk about video games, but
no.
There you go. It's a little bit of a door into my psyche.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps this up.
Yeah, that's where I would close off.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the General Geekery Podcast, talking all about arcades and the video games that we love about them. Do you guys have your own personal favorite arcade game to play? Any personal favorite arcade places that you guys loved to go to, either when you were a kid or as an adolescent? If that word even makes sense. Let us know on social media. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook at Gen Geek Podcast, and on Instagram at General Geekery. Be sure to check us out on there. I would love to revisit more video game talk one of these days, but that'll be in the future. And if you guys have any other topics you'd like us to talk about, let us know.
Yeah.
We would love to talk more with you guys about things that you would love to hear us talk about. And you guys can also check out the podcast wherever podcasts can be found on Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, and you guys can also check out my YouTube channel at Anime Rev Productions for the episodes of the podcast if you do not have any access to the previous streaming services. Hannah, where can they find you at?
Well, you can find me rolling dice with my party every Monday at 7:30 Central on twitch.tv/loadeddiceadventures. You can also follow me on Instagram at PythianLegume. And if you want to listen to another podcast, I do one with my mom called the Splanknicks Podcast, where we discuss art, entertainment, culture, and tabletop gaming, all from the perspective of two different generations.
Nice. Always love it. And you guys can check me out on social media at RyuzakiMK7 on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also follow me on twitch.tv at RyuzakiMK7 as well. I stream a variety of different games. Most of them are RPG-based, but I've been expanding my variety lately. And I always enjoy talking to my chat room while I'm playing through all these games. Sometimes I have some wild reactions. Sometimes the chat room teases me, but it's all in good fun. And depending on what kind of game I play, I also do on-the-spot voice acting as well to provide some fun commentary as well. It's always fun when doing old RPGs and you get to do the voices. Every time. But, yeah, definitely go check that out at twitch.tv/RyuzakiMK7. Please go check that out. And, that'll be it for this episode of the podcast. This is episode 46 of the General Geekery Podcast, all about that arcade life. For Hannah Kubiak, I'm Donald Gazinski. And until next time, guys, keep those quarters handy. Be prepared to have your quarter up at your favorite arcade machine. But always remember when you do so, play safe, play smart, be respectful, and always keep your geek on.
Always.
Clink, clink.
Clink, clink.
Hey, come on over and have some fun with Crazy Taxi.
Round 1. Fight.
Bye, guys.
Ding, ding.